In the last lesson, we learned that metabolism can be broken down into two categories of reactions: those that are extracting energy from resources in the environment, and then those that are building things for the cell. Well, what kinds of molecules are constructed by the cell? DNA, for one. DNA molecules are chain molecules built from a finite set of building blocks. ATP energy is required to chemically bond the units into a chain molecule, and unique proteins carry out these reactions. So a cell is going to have to construct new DNA if it's going to go on to reproduce. ATP energy is also required to build lipid molecules that make up the cell membrane. You'll recall lipid molecules have a head and then a fatty tail here, and the cell will have to build new lipid molecules if it's going to grow. The raw materials for this construction often comes in the form of nutrient molecules imported into the cell. So we can think of food as sort of a source of energy and building materials. So here we have building materials, energy, ATP energy, and teams of proteins will take those building materials and construct larger molecules: DNA, lipids, and as well proteins. Proteins are chain molecules built from a finite set of building blocks. ATP energy is required to chemically bond the units into a chain molecule. Unique proteins carry out these reactions. So proteins as well require ATP energy to build proteins from amino acids. Amino acids are linked together by chemical bonds, and that linkage requires energy. In the cell here, in this scene here, we see the construction of a protein. So special construction factories, they're called ribosomes. They are responsible for building the cell's proteins. So all the proteins that are carrying out the chemistry of life have to be built by the cell. In fact, the factory, the ribosomes, partly consists of proteins themselves. So it's proteins helping to build other proteins. Now, proteins help build other proteins just as machines are used to build other machines. Here in a factory, we see these robots, in a sense, helping to build the car, which is another machine. Now imagine, though, that the robots were building more robots like themselves. So it would be robots building robots. So instead of a car here, imagine these robots were building more robots like themselves. In a sense, then, proteins are like these molecular machines. They help build all of the important molecules in the cell, including molecules like themselves. So the key molecules in the cell, the workers of the cell, are the proteins. They carry out all the necessary chemical reactions to keep the cell alive, from getting energy and building new cell parts, from lipids to DNA to proteins like themselves. So we've got a picture here where a cell is alive in virtue of all the chemistry that these proteins are doing. The final step in our understanding of the cell will be to say a word about how the cell knows how to construct these very useful proteins that carry out the chemistry of life.